Live Fit Podcast, episode 98. Dr. Phil Carson, a natural pharmacist, discusses how he lost his belief in typical drug therapy and now recommends natural methods.
I have a passion more so for natural products and natural therapies today than I do for the traditionally trained medicines that I have dispensed for years.
He, like me, believes the mind leads the body, and if you're going to be healthy, you have to live healthy.
That's something I preach and teach all the time to my patients, is that you've got to make the lifestyle changes. If you want to get healthier, you want to live a more vibrant, healthy life, then you're going to have to make some lifestyle changes, because a lot of what people are dealing with, health issues this day and time, is because of their lifestyle.
He took matters into his own hands when he learned how harmful drugs for ADD and ADHD can be.
I read some articles, read some studies about what these drugs were doing to these kids, and I said, I can't keep doing this. So I made the decision that I would stop dispensing them.
Welcome to the Live Fit Podcast with Glenn Johnson, your resource for all things that contribute to good health. You will hear expert advice and interviews with leading authorities on fitness, food, fat loss, mindset, and the mind-body connection. You will find show notes, articles, and health programs at livefitpodcast.com.
Yes, it is time once again for the Live Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Johnson, your guide to better health. Thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, and most importantly, share this show with everybody you care about. Today, I'm speaking with the president of Carson Natural Health. Dr. Phil is a pharmacist who thinks outside the box of traditional medicine. He believes in helping people find natural alternatives and integrative nutritional solutions to their health problems. He is committed to leading people to finding the root cause of their health problems, not simply treating the symptoms. Dr. Phil is passionate about encouraging and teaching people how to live more balanced, healthier, and vibrant lives. He believes in equipping people with the knowledge to make the right choices for optimal health. He is certified as a compounding pharmacist, a diabetes care pharmacist, and most recently, a consulting pharmacist. Phil has also earned certifications in lipid management, gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, and has earned numerous certifications in natural and alternative medicine therapies for weight loss, fibromyalgia, ADD, ADHD, and many other health conditions. Please help support the show by going to livefitlean.com/patron, or you can click on one of the links on any show notes pages. I also offer health coaching, weight management, and health improvement programs. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a voice message by using the orange tab on the right side of any screen on my website, or you can also email me at glenn@livefitpodcast.com. Now, let's listen to my wonderful interview with Dr. Phil Carson. Well, hello, Dr. Phil. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Glenn. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share on your podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Any chance I get to hear that wonderful accent just tickles my ears. Where is it from?
North Mississippi.
North Mississippi?
I'm a northerner in Mississippi. I live in the Tupelo, Mississippi area, which Tupelo is world famous for a very famous person who's probably the most famous person that's lived in our lifetime, a guy that grew up there and moved away to Memphis, Tennessee when he was 13 years old. His name is Elvis.
Oh, I knew that. I knew that city sounded familiar. Wow.
But of course, a lot of people associate us with the song Tupelo Honey as well, an old Van Morrison song.
Yes.
Back in the 70s. Yep.
Nice. So a lot of music in that area, I guess.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, Dr. Phil, I want you to just kind of briefly go over for our listeners who you are and what you do. Who is Dr. Phil Carson?
All right. Well, I'm a traditionally trained pharmacist, Glenn. I graduated from pharmacy school back in 1985. Started practicing pharmacy right out of school in a big chain store operation. And 2 years into that, I was ready to get out of school. Ready to get out of pharmacy, ready to quit altogether and do something different because of the stress. The stress was literally killing me. And fortunately, an older gentleman in our little small town had an independent pharmacy, and he had just opened up another one about a year earlier in a neighboring town. And the guy who was working for him had decided to move, and he asked me to come to work for him. So he kept me in pharmacy. So I went to work for him and started helping him build that business. A lot less stress, but all the stress that I had been through the previous 2 years in the chain operation I was in had taken its toll on my health. And I also had, a lot of people in this little small town that were dealing with health issues, and they were coming in asking me questions about natural products, and I didn't know how to answer them because, as I tell people all the time, when I went through pharmacy school in the late 70s, early 80s, I was taught the history of natural medicine, not the application of it. And so I didn't know how to answer these people, and I was also at the same time looking for something to help me with my own health issues, the chronic reflux, heartburn, indigestion, gastritis problems I was having from all the stress. And I learned about a company that was offering courses in natural medicine and natural therapies. So I signed up, started taking these courses, started learning all these things, and it literally changed my life, changed my health, to begin with. But as I began to tell other people about the things I was experiencing and sharing the knowledge I was learning with them, I saw other people's lives being changed and other people's health problems and improving, and some of them being alleviated totally. And that just inspired me to learn even more and pursue the area of natural medicine even more. And that's what I did. And I'm still learning every day. I have a passion more so for natural products and natural therapies today than I do for the traditionally trained medicines that I have dispensed for years. And in 2006, I opened up a pharmacy that was geared toward just natural products and natural therapies, and also specialty compounding, which we did a lot of what we call bioidentical hormone therapy compounding. And as you well remember, as I'm sure most all of your listeners do, in 2008, 2009, the economy took a downturn, and our new business took a downturn with it, and ended up losing it all. But in the process of all that, when I started this new business, I was beginning to look into an online business. And so I had opened Carson Natural Health primarily as a natural brick and mortar business, but I wanted to take it further than that. I wanted to reach more people than just the local people in our area. So I was looking into an online part of the business before everything went south. And a few years ago, I began to refuel that passion I had for natural products and natural medicine, and kind of got Carson Natural back going again, and started reaching out to people online. And I went through several things to learn all I could about natural therapies and how to sell my services online. Which I do a lot of coaching. I do a lot of coaching and consulting. I do it locally here, but also do a lot online. But in March of this year, I was given an opportunity for another local operation to work with people locally here as well. A doctor friend of mine that's been in private practice for a long time, who is a strong believer in natural products and natural therapies, and utilized them in her practice, decided that she wanted to go into private practice. I'd been telling her for years she needed to do that because of her belief in natural products, and she was also beginning to get a lot of pressure from the hospital group that she was in because she did want to do use these natural therapies. So in March she called, not March, in December of last year, she called me and said, "Hey, I want to do what you've been telling me to do, but I want you to do it with me." So in March of this year, we opened up the Life Transformation Medical Center to provide holistic type care and natural therapies, make those available to people in our area here. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of work to get it up and going, but we're seeing some great results, and we're growing, and that's a good thing.
Wow, I have been writing questions all along because I didn't want to interrupt you. I wanted to keep your flow going. But I'm probably going to have to go back to when you were speaking earlier, and then we'll kind of make our way forward to what you just ended with. But I think that definitely gives us a few things to chew on. So first of all, the thing that strikes me is it seems a little bit incongruous or dissimilar to talk about holistic medicine with pharmacy. And at first you're talking about that, and what we know about pharmacists is that they dispense drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a doctor, he writes a prescription, the pharmacist gives you the drugs. But then as I ponder that, I go back to thinking even further, and I don't know the history of pharmacy, but I'm going to say that it's probably along the same lines as a shaman or...
Yeah, there's a lot of what was being practiced in the early 18th century and even in the early 19th century was homeopathic type medicines, like treats like. There's been a variety of different types of natural therapies out there for since the beginning of time.
Right, and would that be more of a pharmacist or a doctor that was disseminating herbs and other tinctures for illness?
Actually, both. And, with the history of pharmacy, you look back in the history of pharmacy before what we call modern medicine came along, before we have all the convenient medications that we have now. Pharmacists prepared things from scratch.
Right.
They would take the raw materials, which most of those at that time, back in the early 20th century, 19th century, when pharmacies were up and going, they were taking herbal extracts and crushing them, putting them into liquids, capsules, different formulations for people to take. And that's even when I got out of pharmacy school in 1985, there was still a little bit of those things still around, but not very much. And actually, the guy that I went to work for, he had an old pharmacy that had been in business for over 100 years when he bought it. And a lot of that old stuff was still in storage in that pharmacy. I have some of it in my office now.
Oh, really?
And it's yeah. And a lot of old products sitting on my shelf in here that the primary ingredients in them are herbal extracts. But they were being sold in these pharmacies back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s. Nice bottles, nice packaging like we have today, but the ingredients were all natural.
Well, of course, that's how Coca-Cola was invented.
Yeah. The pharmacy of today is primarily a dispensing pharmacy for dispensing medications that have already been prepared in a big lab somewhere by a big pharmaceutical company. There has been a revival over the past, 20, 30 years or so of pharmacies that are doing what I call compounding, where we do, like the pharmacists did years ago, what I was taught the history of in pharmacy school, where you take the raw materials and you actually make a dispensable product.
Why is that coming back?
Well, it's coming back for several reasons. One is because of a lot of drugs that have been taken off the market for various reasons. There are dosage forms that are no longer being made that can be compounded with the raw materials that are still available. Another thing is there are a lot of people that are requesting now as far as hormone therapy, the natural hormones. They have to be compounded from natural sources. There's no big drug company out there that's going to make those because they can't patent them and make a bucks off of it. So, but the raw materials can still be purchased and can be made, and a lot of women, especially, that are needing hormone therapy or requesting hormone therapy, they would prefer what's called bioidentical therapy, hormone therapy, as opposed to the synthetic hormones that are out there that studies have been shown that do cause cancer and a lot of other health problems.
Right.
So there's been a big demand for that. So that's one of the reasons. Another thing, too, is dosage forms that can be made from scratch in a compounding pharmacy, say, for instance, for a child. So you've got an infant that's born with some type of heart disease that needs a blood pressure medication that doesn't come in a liquid form that the baby could take. So we would take the raw materials, the powder, and make it into a liquid form to be able to give that child. So there's various applications, and also veterinary. There's a lot of veterinary products that are being compounded as well for animals.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, that's great. And so you also mentioned that you were working in a brick and mortar pharmacy, an actual pharmacy, mm-hmm. and you wanted to expand, so you opened an online shop. Were you selling herbal and natural medicines, treatments?
Yeah. That at the time when I had the brick and mortar, that was something I was beginning to look into, and had actually contracted with a company to help get an online business going. Of course, all of that failed. But recent years, I have revived that, and yes, I do sell natural products online from my website, carsonnatural.com. I've got that site up, and I have all the services that I offer on there, as well as products that we have available that I use a lot and recommend a lot.
So I would like to hear some examples of some things that you might recommend. What if somebody is experiencing GERD? What sort of treatments would you recommend?
Okay. Well, I experienced that myself for many years. And so what I recommend to people is what I found to be the answer for me. And that's digestive enzymes, also probiotics. And another thing that helped me tremendously, and this is not for everybody, but depends on if they have the condition that I have or not. But I'm going to tell you, most of the people who are suffering from GERD, suffering from heartburn, indigestion, and all the symptoms associated with GERD, they have a condition that I have called hypochlorhydria. Hypochlorhydria is a lack of stomach acid, or deficiency in stomach acid. And my stomach doesn't produce quite enough stomach acid to properly break down the foods and digest them. So that's another supplement that I take and use on a regular basis, is a acid supplement that helps put some of the acid into my stomach that's not there, that's needed for digestion. So combination of those three things is what changed my life and helped me and turn my health around when I was suffering tremendously back in the day. And I took every antacid on the market. I took all the ulcer medications that were available at the time, gastritis medications, everything, and got no relief except for maybe a little temporary relief of my symptoms. I was sleeping in a recliner most nights. I would have severe gastritis. Sometimes I couldn't even stand up, and it got pretty bad.
Wow.
And for these simple natural products that I learned about to give me my health back and turn things around, that was huge for me. And I share that with people all the time that are suffering from those problems. And I've seen many other people just like myself that implemented into their life these natural therapies that I'm talking about, and it changed their life as well.
So you said that you have hypochlorhydria. Now,
Yeah.
most people assume that if they're experiencing heartburn, they have too much stomach acid. Is there a way to tell the difference if you have too much or too little? How can the layperson know?
I tell people how I've learned that I had hypochlorhydria. I read about this in a book and some of the research that I was doing, some of the courses I was taking, and actually one of the doctors that taught one of the courses that I took was Dr. Jonathan Wright from Tacoma Clinic out in Tacoma, Washington. He actually wrote a book about this and about the stomach acid and what you just said. A lot of people think that they have too much acid when in fact they have too little. And so what he suggested, what the other book that I had read suggested, is that you do a little simple home test using apple cider vinegar or using fresh squeezed lemon juice. When you're suffering, having the heartburn and indigestion, you take a dose of either one, and if you get relief, then most likely your stomach's not producing enough acid. If your symptoms worsen, then you probably are producing too much acid.
Is there any natural treatment for hyperchlorhydria?
Yeah, there are the probiotics is one of the things that can help. I've seen that help people. You can calm the acid down with sodium bicarbonate. There's a natural product that can help sometimes in neutralizing some of the acid. And actually, sodium bicarb was used years and years ago before the natural acid blockers came along. And there are people who still like to use it because they know that it works in helping calm the acid down a little bit in the stomach.
Yeah, and it turns you into a human volcano, right?
Yeah.
You put the vinegar and the baking soda, and you get that little foam. So kids use it for their volcanoes.
Oh yeah. You have to be careful with that.
So, just really quick, back to your condition with the GERD. Now, it seems a little bit contrary to understand that both too much acid and too little acid can cause the same irritation in the esophagus. Can you explain that?
Yeah. What happens with when there's too little acid, the food is not getting broken down in a timely manner like it's supposed to. And it's not it's laying there in the stomach too long, basically, is what's happening. And with a little bit of acid, it is there. You end up with what's reflux. It kind of begins to bubble back up and reflux back up into the esophagus. And that's what people think. Well, gosh, I've got too much acid. I've got to take something an antacid to calm this down. But that's actually the wrong treatment.
Interesting.
So that's how it works.
And so just a little bit of water and vinegar or lemon juice will be that's enough to test whether they have too much or too little.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said a key word there too that I want to talk about for just a second, and that's water.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are suffering from these problems because they're dehydrated. They don't drink enough water.
Yeah.
And it's something that I preach and teach to people all the time. You've got to have water. People drink other things. They drink too many sodas. They drink too much coffee, too much tea, whatever, but they don't drink enough water. And one of the things that can stimulate the gastric juices, the flow of the gastric juices is drinking water. So I highly recommend that suffering from heartburn, indigestion, and all the symptoms associated with GERD, they have a condition that I have called hypochlorhydria. Hypochlorhydria is a lack of stomach acid or a deficiency in stomach acid. And my stomach doesn't produce quite enough stomach acid to properly break down the foods and digest them. So that's another supplement that I take and use on a regular basis is a acid supplement that helps put some of the acid into my stomach that's not there. It's needed for digestion.
So if you have two, it'll kind of dilute the acid, but won't it also increase the fluid content of the stomach, or will it empty quick enough?
Well, yeah, one thing you don't want to drink too much. As I said, a small amount of water. And it's my recommendation that you drink it a few minutes before your meal to get those gastric juices flowing. And then during the meal, drink very little. And then you can drink more sometime after the meal to hydrate the body properly and to move everything on through. But that's another problem, that a lot of people drink way too much, and they do dilute the stomach acid too much during the digestive process or during the meal.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of
cause problems as well.
I've never felt that drinking during a meal is a good idea. Little sips here and there, maybe if if you need to wash something down. But as far as drinking a whole glass of anything, it just doesn't seem like a good idea while you are eating, because it takes up the space the food does and dilutes the acid, et cetera, the things that you said. So yeah, but before, give it a few minutes to settle, and then again after, 20 minutes after or so. So let's say somebody wants to go a natural method, a natural path, shall we say, to relieving some symptoms that they're experiencing, arthritis or GERD or, I don't know, pain of one form or the other, back pain maybe. How do they know what to take?
Yeah, well, that's where a person needs to seek out someone who's been trained in natural therapies, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And they can go to the internet, and that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people go to, searching on the internet, go to Google or whatever, start looking at information. And there's some good information out there. There's also a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of companies out there with information just trying to sell you a product. So I recommend people, seek out a trained professional, someone that has some years of experience in natural therapies, has a background in medicine, and ask questions and say, hey, here's what I'm dealing with. Can you help me? If you can't help me, lead me to somebody that can. And that's how I get a lot of the clients that I have. Someone's told them that, hey, Dr. Phil helped me. Maybe he can help you. But there are more and more people, or more clinicians rather, that are moving in the direction that I have moved in, and I'm glad to see that. It's been for quite a few years now. There, and especially in our area here in the deep South where I live, there hasn't been very many. And the fact that Dr. Washington and I have opened up this clinic together is a big thing for our area, because there's not any other medical practice like this in our area. I know in other areas of the country there are, and I've heard about them and learned about them for years, and I've longed to have something like this here. But think about what you're asking about there, Glenn, a quote that was quoted many, many years ago by Thomas Edison. He said, the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human body and diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Now, that's a future I'm looking for. And I think, that future would have been here already had it not been for the drug companies. I think some of them must have been listening to his quote and decided, hey, we better get to moving fast and getting some prescription drugs on the market before this happens. But I would love to see that happen in our day, where more and more people are helping patients look for preventive measures that they can take, and for nutritional measures, and especially diet, lifestyle changes. And that's something I preach and teach all the time to my patients, is that you've got to make the lifestyle changes. If you want to get healthier, you want to live a more vibrant, healthy life, then you're going to have to make some lifestyle changes, because a lot of what people are dealing with health issues this day and time is because of their lifestyle.
Oh, I completely agree with you, wholeheartedly agree. And I preach and teach prevention constantly, much better than, trying to treat something that's already happened. You're much more successful at at healing if you never have to heal in the first place. But if
Exactly.
if something does happen, then it's great to know that there are alternatives to these medications with all these crazy side effects.
Yep. Yep. There are, and I tell people that all the time, that, hey, you don't necessarily have to take one of these prescription drugs. And I'm not totally anti-drug. I mean, that's been my profession for years. But I see it going in a direction that I don't like. And with so many people becoming addicted to a lot of these highly addictive drugs that are out there, and it's so many things happening today in that world of drug addiction. Is harming people's lives, destroying people's lives, and I don't like to see that. And I made the decision when I was still fully practicing pharmacy several years ago with particular drugs that were being dispensed for ADD and ADHD for children. I've read some articles, read some studies about what these drugs were doing to these kids, and I said, I can't keep doing this. So I made the decision that I would stop dispensing them.
Holy cow.
Parents would come to me with a prescription, and I would say, look, I'm sorry, based upon everything I'm reading about these medications, I've chosen not to dispense them anymore. If you want to learn about some natural alternatives that are available to help, to help with this condition, I'll be happy to talk with you about that, but I'm not going to be able to fill your prescription.
Did you get some irate parents with you?
Well, really not. I really didn't.
Wow.
Most of them said, okay, I understand. Or they would say, hey, well, tell me about the natural stuff, because I don't really want to put them on this stuff anyway.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Tell us about the natural stuff then. So I've not heard of a natural medication for ADD. What would you recommend?
I work with ADD, ADHD kids on an individual basis because it's different with different kids, and not all of them. You can't put everybody in a cookie cutter mold with any particular health condition, I believe. And but with ADD, ADHD, there are some common threads there. And what I do is I sit down with the patient and with the parents, and we talk about their history and where it all started and that kind of stuff. And try to help them get to the underlying cause of why their child has been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. And a lot of times, to me, ADHD, ADD, I think it's just a name. It's a label that gets put on kids when they really don't have that particular condition or problem a lot of times. Sometimes I know that it's real. They do have a serious problem, but sometimes they're labeled that way because of their behavior or because of their inability to focus and concentrate in school. But there's things going on in their body that's disrupting their brain, and that's what I try to help them find out, what's causing that. And as far as any specific treatment, there's really not one for ADD, ADHD. But I work with an individual, try to help them get to the root cause. And a lot of times what I have found, I'll tell you this, what I have found to be the primary root cause of the symptoms or problems that these kids are dealing with is overuse of antibiotics when they were infants.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, most of them that I've dealt with have had a history of chronic ear infections, chronic respiratory infections. They've been on multiple antibiotics. They've been on multiple steroid medications, and they've basically destroyed the good bacteria, the probiotics of the normal, what we call normal gut flora. Has been pretty much wiped out.
Wow.
And these kids are suffering from all kinds of problems because of that. It's not just the mental stuff going on where they can't focus, can't concentrate, or they're hyperactive. They've got a whole list of other symptoms they're dealing with as well. A lot of times they're gut-related symptoms, constipation, diarrhea, or irritable bowel. I see that a lot with these kids, and that's a common thread with a lot of them. I'm saying it's not with every single one of them, but it is with the majority. So there is what I believe with ADHD, ADD is what's being labeled now is the gut-brain connection. And there's a lot of research coming out about it. There's matter of fact, I went to a seminar last year on this, the gut-brain connection, where a lot of this research was discussed, and the connection with kids with ADD and ADHD, and even autism as well, with the gut-brain connection. So that's something that if anybody listening out there has a child that's dealing with these issues, if they haven't gone down that path, if they haven't pursued that, they need to find a clinician that will help them pursue that.
That's fascinating. I have never heard that. Of course, I've heard of the gut-mind and gut-brain connection, but I've not heard it in relation to ADD or ADHD. So that's really interesting. I'm going to have to pursue that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So earlier you said you do coaching. What kind of coaching is that?
I do health coaching. I work with people with various health issues. My specialty, my primary coaching that I do is with diabetics and pre-diabetics. I have some specialty training in diabetes, and I enjoy working with these patients because I see some tremendous turnarounds with them, especially a pre-diabetic that's right on the verge, and they've been told, hey, you got to make some changes. The law has been laid down to them, so to speak, by their doctor. If you don't do this, you don't do that, you're going to end up being a full-blown diabetic. You got to make some changes now. And so sometimes they come to me saying, hey, I've heard you do this, you do that. Can you help me? And I say, sure. And but I love working with those patients, seeing the turnaround in them. So it's pretty amazing sometimes what we see.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I coach various other individuals, all kinds of health issues, but a lot of diabetics.
That's great. Yeah, I'm a health coach too, but I focus more on healthy behaviors, health promoting behaviors, weight loss, that sort of thing. And certainly diabetics come to me, and diabetes is one of the issues from time to time, but I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm an expert on it.
Yeah. And another major one I deal with is stress. And a lot of the people that have diabetes or that are pre-diabetic, it's because of the stress in their lives is one of the underlying causes there. But I do a lot of work, a lot of coaching with people dealing with stress issues that's affected them to the point to where they're having multiple health issues, having trouble sleeping, having trouble coping, having sometimes anxiety and depression issues, other physical ailments that have been triggered by chronic stress in their body. So that's something that I really enjoy working with too, because to see a person come in that's just falling apart physically, mentally, emotionally, and then you make these recommendations to them. You get them on a path. We do testing. We do adrenal testing. We try to find out what kind of shape their adrenals are in and that kind of stuff, and then put them on a path to restoring the balance back to their bodies, and watch them change before your eyes. It's amazing. I love it.
Isn't that wonderful? It's such a wonderful feeling when you see somebody actually make the changes for better. I used to be in the entertainment industry, and on a good day I wouldn't get yelled at. But now but now on a good day I'm helping somebody live a happy, healthy, fit life where they can do things that they haven't been able to do since they were in their early 20s or even teens. And go places and feel good about themselves. And it's not even about weight loss. It's about the energy and how good they actually feel. And when they haven't felt good in 10, 20, 30 years, it's awesome. I love this job.
Oh, yeah. I do too. It's very rewarding.
Yes.
It's much more rewarding to me to do this than to dispense a bottle of pills. I told somebody here recently, I've had numerous people come back to me and thank me for telling them about a natural product or a natural therapy that I recommended to them that changed their life. But I don't know that I've ever had somebody come back to me and thank me for several bottles of pills that I gave them, prescription drugs that I gave them that totally changed their life. Most of the time it gave them other problems with the side effects and things that are associated with them. But to have people come back to you and when you've recommended a natural therapy to them or a natural product to them that changed their life, and they come back and thank you and tell you what a difference it made, that's very rewarding.
That's great. Yeah, you probably don't get diabetics coming in and thanking you for the insulin you gave them so they could eat cake on on their birthday or something, right?
That's right.
So, Dr. Phil, I believe you had a free gift for my listeners, right?
They can go to my website, carsonnatural.com, and I've got lots of free resources and things there. They can learn about what we do. But I've got a free stress assessment and a free guide that we call the Dr. Phil's 7 Tips to Stress Relief that I'll be happy to offer your listeners. They can go to carsonnatural.com /livefit and just follow that. It'll take them right to the link to where they can get they put in information and take them right to the link where they can get this free guide and stress assessment.
Well, Dr. Phil, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Very enlightening. I love what you're doing, how you're helping people find the natural way to help their bodies with less or no side effects. And really, the body wants to run clean and naturally. It doesn't want all those chemicals and drugs in it. Certainly, drugs have their place, but I think they're just grotesquely overused. So I applaud you for your effort and your process in helping people live fit, healthier, happier lives.
Hey, I really appreciate it, Glenn. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share with your listeners today.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Live Fit Podcast. Please subscribe and share with someone you care about. Read show notes, articles, resources, and learn more about our weight management programs at livefitpodcast.com. Once again, thanks for listening, and always remember to live fit.